Alright guys, how's it going? Today we're just going to be breaking down, I would say, one of the most fundamental ICT concepts, and that's premium and discount zones. So this is essentially how smart money decides where to buy and where to sell. And once you get a hang of this, a lot of the other ICT concepts are going to start clicking into place. Alright, so we're going to use a real world analogy example. And let's just keep it real simple. Let's say we're talking about apples, and usually the fair price of an apple is $10. So this is going to be the fair price, fair value. And that's kind of just the long-term average of what apples tend to cost. All right. And because of market cycles, right? Sometimes there's going to be more supply and sometimes there's going to be less supply, which causes the price of apples to move up and down. So you can see prices of apples usually moving in a cyclical fashion. And as a result, you have apples that could be $5 at one point in time, apples that can be $10 at one point in time, and apples that can be $15 at a point in time. Now, why is this important? Well, if you are in the marketplace and you're looking to transact, you need to understand which direction you are going to play and at what price levels. Are you going to be buying apples at $15 and selling them at $5? You're going to be losing $10 a pop. Are you buying them at 5 and selling them at 15? Yes, you should be buying down here and waiting for price to come back towards our mean at least. Now, when you keep this in mind, right, 15, the 10 is the fair value or the equilibrium point where both buyers and sellers are happy to transact. Now, anything below is considered discount, meaning apples are on sale, and this very heavily favors buyers because it's cheap and there is upside potential. Now, up here, this is premium. This favors sellers because apples are pretty expensive. They're $5 above the fair value. And this is generally overbought and the price is too high. It's inflated. So in premium, you are going to be selling, while in discount, you are going to be buying. And anything above 50% of the range, so the range is 15, 5 to 15, anything above this middle level of $10, that's going to be considered premium. Anything below is discount. And now you're going to kind of question, why does this relate to NQ? Why does this relate to our trading? And it's pretty obvious. Premium and discount works in the same way. So when we're going onto the chart on NQ, right, price typically trades in ranges. So if you mark out a high to a low, you're going to get a range on the indices. And because price tends to trade to extremes, it doesn't mean that it's always going to continue going further and further and further. When we're in a downtrend and we keep selling off, you should not have the bias that it's going to keep going forever and ever and ever. Eventually, there's something called mean reversion where price tends to go to outliers. It goes to extreme deviations like this, makes this massive leg down, and eventually it's expected to return back to the midpoint at least, or potentially coming back up to premium. So with that in mind, this concept of mean reversion, this is going to be pivotal in looking for trades on NASDAQ and understanding that when objectives get met, when we see these big moves, typically manipulation moves into our levels of sell side, for this case, it's going to be the start of the buy model. Let's say this is a 4-hour sell side. We make this low down into here. I'm going to be looking for longs because where price is cheap, it's oversold. It's a good opportunity to buy, and then potentially targeting the midpoint of the range or the mean. Now, premium and discount and understanding the range is important in all kinds of market conditions and cycles, but it can be a little tricky when we are chopping around for quite some time. So, if you look at the past month or two, so in February, we have been consolidating for many, many weeks now, and it's been very frustrating and it's harder to look for trades, but the concepts of premium and discount still apply. So when you're marking out your premium and discount, you're going to be marking out the swing highs and swing lows. So you can have multiple swing highs and swing lows. You can have multiple ranges within a range. So it's not one shoe fits all. You can use the low down here. Oh, I'm sorry, you can use the high up here to the low down here. You can also use the high up here to this. There's many overlaps. You can use another point like these two. And yeah. Now, to orient yourself and kind of come up with trade ideas off of this, remember when it's in the green area, it's typically a sell. And when it's in the gray, it's typically a buy. So for me, coming into the past month or so, I've been trying to catch longs out of here and look for price to return back towards buy side. Or on the flip, I caught some sells. I was waiting for price to sweep the high. And if we failed to go higher, failed to go towards our buy side objectives up higher, then I would be open to shorts back down to sell side, which was we had lows down here and also these lows. But these are best case scenario targets. Usually when you are looking for sells or buys towards that mean, remember that midpoint, that is going to be the target. The best case scenario is that we have good delivery and price plays out toward even beyond that, but you're not always going to get beautiful price action. So we can actually jump to this day. Let's go on the 15-minute. So this is our midpoint level, I think. And we're just going to wait for price takes out the high, I believe. Okay, price takes out the high. We gap down overnight. I believe there was NVIDIA earnings. We form this gap. Let's see what happens here. And we just continue selling off. And because price was so overextended during this whole session, really, this whole week, look how many points. This is Friday. Let's go Sunday, Monday. So off of Monday's AM lows, the market pumped 820 points. Now, keeping in mind that when price trades to extreme outliers, like 820 points is a lot for a week. When price trades back to outliers, you're going to eventually expect some sort of retrace or rebalance. As a result, from this Wednesday afternoon session, from this Wednesday Globex open, you are going to see price come down, and we saw a massive sell move, and we saw that mean reversion play. This is kind of one of the ways to think about using premium and discount. We're overextended. NVIDIA earnings was bullish. I was bullish too. I wanted us to go for the highs. But once you see the market react in this kind of way at the highs, this is when you orient yourself short and target at least the midpoint. And if you can get lucky, hold it towards external sell side. All right, so another more clear example of this working of range, discount, and premium is this is from my journal in Notion from August, and this was a trade I took. So you can see here, um, this was just the trade. My analysis 4 hour, very interesting, only looking for longs in this larger range. Remember, we draw the box or the range. I use the GAN box tool and draw it from the swing high to the swing low, basically the start of the move to the end of the move. And from there, once price comes back to zero point 0.5 of the range, depending on my bias and the potential targets that we have, once it comes back to zero point 0.5 or discount, I'm going to be looking for longs. Fortunately, I was unable to pick up shorts when we're in premium, and this is perfectly okay. Usually, like I would say 70% of the time I'm going to be playing longs, and that's because usually the market is generally bullish, so it's easier to long the market than short the market just because the market tends to always go up. So we can go out on the chart and I'll show you what I saw. So 4 hour, we draw, I use the Gambox tool. If you want to see my settings, I'll show you real quick in a second. These are my settings. I literally just have 0 and 1 and 0.5 coordinates, visibility, so you can see that. Okay, so because we are in this discount, remember 0.5 of the range, we're below that. We can jump down to the morning session. We can jump down to the morning session. Where is that? And let's see what happens. So we have some sell side down here, more down here, and we continue going, selling off. So we take all the major sell side. Remember on the left, we took out some 4 hour lows. Now we could be going even lower. Let's let it keep playing out. And I'll tell you when we started looking in for long. So it was around 11:25. So we have a long ways to go. Pop, pop, pop. Perfect. Right here. So remember we drew out on the 4 hour this final level of sell side. And at this point, you are going to be looking for longs, but you're not just going to be jumping in because we're in discount. You're going to wait for some sort of confirmation, some sort of indication of reversal. And I talk about this in other videos, but from here, what do we have? Price is inside this 5 minute. I'll wait for this to go inversion, or you could take a change in the state of delivery type of trade. So a close below or a close above a prominent high. And from here, for a target, I like to mark out the 9:30, the whole AM range. So you see we made this big move down. I'm going to be targeting 0.5 of the morning range. And actually my stop is going to be below the gap just because if this is a higher probability play and there's no reason for us to go for these lows if we are bullish. So TP hit pretty quick, and this was a trade I took in real time. So yeah, this is really one of the more clear ways and examples that I use this premium and discount. I wait for some prominent lows to get taken. I see a change in the state or market structure shift coupled with an inversion of some sort, and that's how I kind of get a clear bias, clear trade. And when the market is very volatile and going in ranges like this, like when the market's going in a $1,200 range and we have massive up days, down days, there's good volatility. This is the prime example of how to take advantage of the premium and discount that we have. So hopefully this makes sense to you guys. If you have any questions, I have a free server in my description. I'm live in the Discord at least 2 to 3 times a week. I'm trying to be more active. I have tons of free education. And yeah, hope you guys have a good one.